young Jedi.
Hello there.
Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and today we are taking a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Clones of the Republic, Yoda and Clone Commander Gree. This set came out a little while ago, and I missed it because I don't really generally believe in figure pre-orders, and 99.9999% of the time that works out alright, but this never restocked. So I'm only recently getting my hands on it. A special thank you to 212 Hunter. He had picked up a second to flip somewhere down the road. He'd mentioned it, and we came to an agreement. He could have charged me more. He still made his buck, don't worry. But I got the friends and family deal on this one, and so I'm super happy to finally get this one in the collection. I'm very amped to get into it and review it. There are two figures in this set that are ones that I am really, really excited for. I know some people really despise the Commander Gree, but I'm going to talk to you about it in the review about why I don't actually think it's that bad. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what this Clones of the Republic pack is offering to you. And here is our 2-pack. Let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. This is your standard Clones of the Republic packaging, being a ginormous window showing your figures and accessories off nicely, below a Black Series logo, above a light blue Clones of the Republic Yoda and Clone Commander Gree, warning 4+ and Hasbro. This side of the box features some really nice artwork of Commander Gree. This side features some really nice artwork of Jedi Grandmaster Yoda. Up top is just a hanger tab, a barcode, and a bunch of legal hoop-dee down below, hoop-a-doo-doop. And then around back, you have pictures of each character on the side, a bio about them, pause and read whichever language best applies to you, and then a bunch more legal hoopla down below there. And it's the second Clones of the Republic pack, and probably the only good one of the 4 we have so far, hence why it's the only one that's actually worth a bit. So let's go ahead, get these guys out of the box, and take a look at what you're getting here. Here's our 2-pack out of the box, and I'm just going to start by running through Gree, because that is going to be the easiest thing to talk about here. So, this Commander Gree is a version of Commander Gree that we have not seen a lot of. However, technically, it's probably the most canonical look for Commander Gree. If you remember back to his appearance in Season 1 of the Clone Wars, he wasn't all in camouflage. He was a white clone trooper with some green markings. And then when we finally see him in Revenge of the Sith, he is full-blown camouflaged out like this was. And, you know, I'm not saying that this isn't an iconic look. Like, this is how he appears in the movie. This is absolutely the more iconic look. However, he appears in a couple of comics very briefly in this white and green deco. His white and green helmet is shown in Thrawn's office in Season 4 of Rebels, I believe. It's actually included as an accessory in that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Thrawn multi-pack. So, there's kind of an argument to be made. Is Gree always camo? Or is this, like, did he deco himself up special for a special mission? You know, like, is it possible that this is, you know, hey, we're going in the woods, you know, let's camo up. Like, I could see that. I could see this as being his general appearance, and then our Revenge of the Sith appearance being a little bit more of a specialty appearance. So, this existing doesn't bother me. And I know it bothers some, and if it does, so many of it, I mean, look in the back. I got so many clones on the shelves. I can't be the only one. Could you not just stick a white and green clone on the shelf somewhere? Like what's the big deal? Don't get me wrong. I want this appearance for Gree on the 2023 body very much. However, even think back when this came out. This is a Toys R Us exclusive back in 2018, and it was expensive. Your average figure was like $22 then, and then a store exclusive would be another $1 or $2, but he was like $30 at the time. All these paint apps on him definitely ups the price a bit. So you know, everyone says that they want Gree, but I think they want Gree for standard figure pricing, and I don't know how they can do that, you know. So, hot take, Gree might be a deluxe when we finally get an upgrade of him, so get that in your head before it happens. But, yeah, otherwise, this Gree is basically just a white and green clone on the 2023 clone body. Something they did here, I don't know that I'm a giant fan of it. There's a fair bit of reuse in this pack. I'll point it out as we go through. And that kind of makes me wonder why we couldn't have gotten anything new. But we know what Gree looks like with his helmet off because of that Season 1 appearance. He has that clone haircut with the 2 strips of hair left, and otherwise he's bald. And So instead of just sculpting a new clone head that has that haircut on it, they just glued the head down. I'm not a giant fan of that being the choice they made, but at least they left it like skin tone colored under there, so it looks like all your other clones with their helmets on, you know, like, because I don't really take my helmets off of any of them, but if you're going to do the gimmick, like, at least make it, you know, skin tone colored so it blends in. So yeah, I'd have done a new head sculpt for him and given him the removable feature, were it me. But otherwise, just taking a look at his helmet, it does look very nice with that green stripe going to the flared green section over the top of the helmet with the ridge remaining white. The indent ring around the back of the helmet is in a green color as well, and all the panels are filled in with green. And he's got the blue stripes, very strikingly looking there. And then he's got, of course, your silver teeth, your black visor, your black and silver on the respirators area. Working down his design, he's got stripes that go down to the base of the bicep where it turns into a ring. The elbow pads are all green. And then he's got the all green thighs and the pattern going around the abdomen and up the chest. So very, very unique. A lot of the times it's just a stripe. He has a lot of stripes that then turn into bands. It's kind of a fun deco. It's a little bit of a variation of the normal. But otherwise, he's an all-white clone. They didn't bother trying to do any weathering on him or anything, and I feel that's probably the correct way to go. Hasbro weathering is either a black scuff here and there, or just white scratches in the painted areas, you know, to show that the paint's chipped off, and it's just never dirty looking, and they always overlook that, so I'd rather personally have the clean, and if you want it dirty, you know, that's kind of just a customizer's job at that point. But otherwise, he looks really nice. He does have the dual trigger fingers, and he comes with the two blasters of choice of a clone trooper, being the long and short rifles. They are in dark gray plastic, but not quite black. They're definitely gray, and that's okay. Not a drop of paint to be seen, and that doesn't bother me really any either. So they're simple, and that's all they need to be. But that's it for Commander Gree. Let's hit some articulation real quick and just get him totally out of the way. He does feature the double ball neck, allowing him to look that far up, that far down, some side to side, and a bit of pivot in there. His arms come up to the T-pose. This one's a little sticky. There we go. And then there's a good butterfly front and back. 360 at the shoulder. The shoulder pads are on that ring, so it can travel with, goes wherever it needs to go. It's never in the way. There's a bicep swivel, and then single-jointed elbows that go a little past 90, and then technically swivel at the elbow, but the bicep swivel turns a little easier, so that's generally where I turn it at. 360 at the wrist with the left hinging in and out, and the right hinging up and down. There's a mid-torso ball joint, and the chest armor is a bit of an overlay, so when you work them together, you can crunch him that far forward, that far back, and get some side-to-side twist in there, and some pivot, of course. He can do a pretty wide split. He can kick his legs that far forward, a little bit back. There's an upper thigh rotation. Not the biggest fan of that point, but it is hidden very nicely by the armor, so I forgive it. Single jointed knees go a little past 90 and then swivel at the knee. The knee pad is free floating on that ring, so it can go wherever you need it to go. Actually, out of the box, this knee pad was turned all the way around. I thought it was missing, but it was just, I don't know, QC. Not really QC. It's not a problem. But anyway, single jointed knees can go that far. If I hadn't mentioned that yet, got distracted there. And then the feet can point basically straight down. That's really far. And then really far forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to get his feet into some pretty decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. So that is it for Commander Gree. Very standard modern Clone Trooper stuff. I can make a Clone Trooper review pretty quick these days, but Yoda is where this pack gets exciting. So I'm going to set Gree and his accessories back there, and let's take a look at Master Yoda. And this figure is really the draw. This is a new prequel era Yoda, and that's really exciting because we had that like Empire Strikes Back Yoda that came out in the line in 2014. It was too big, and it was bulky, and they've reissued it and repainted it and photoreeled it and force ghosted it over and over and over all over the years. Now, in 2020, for the Empire Strikes Back 20th, we did get a new Yoda sculpt that was packed with Luke Skywalker, where Yoda was in Luke's backpack for Dagobah training, and then they used that for the Force Ghost Yoda in the 3-pack. Now, this is a reuse of that sculpt, so it is a much smaller body. It's not the first time we've seen the body, but there are some new heads here and some new paint going on with them, which is really, really exciting. He's wearing a soft goods Jedi robe, and admittedly, It's probably a little bit too dark. It's very much a light brown, and I always think of Yoda's robe as being tan. So it's not as dark as most Jedi robes are, but I feel like it's definitely still too dark for what it's supposed to represent, personally. It has a hood, but it is stitched down, which Yoda wearing his hood up is like something that you can do in Battlefront 2, and I think that's the only place I've ever seen it happen. So I'm not personally going to lose too much sleep over that. But other than that, he does look really, really good. There's a lot of hidden articulation under that robe. So I am going to go ahead and strip the Grandmaster, but with consent, of course. So we talked about it before the stream. But there we go, taking his cloak off and setting it aside. It definitely hides some ugly, because I gotta say, something at this scale, having articulation, it's a little rough on the eyes, and he's very skinny looking. And one thing that does bother me with this sculpt, it doesn't bother me as much on the original trilogy issues of him, because he's kind of like a puppet, but he does feel very long in the arms department. I don't really mind it as much when you got the cloak on him and you got him in a little bit of a pose, but just standing here staring at the camera, it's definitely not the best look. So we'll get that cloak back on him. But just to show you some of his articulations and such, let's run through those really quick. He features a ball at the bottom of the neck, which allows his head to pivot all over the place. Look only a little bit up, down a good bit, and then of course side to side. His arms come up to like a T-pose. There's no butterfly joint. How could you put a butterfly joint in there? It's tiny. And then 360 rotation at the shoulder with single jointed elbows. They can go 290 and swivel, 360 on the wrist, and both hands hinge up and down to a minimal degree. There's no ball joint at the waist, but there is a twist at the waist, which is nice. He can kick his legs pretty far forward into a seating position. That's going to matter here in a few. Back a little bit. There's no thigh swivel. There's a little bit of pivot on the ball joint, which doesn't ultimately matter because his knees can go past 90 and then swivel at the knee, so you get your rotation there. And then his feet can go that far down, that far forward, and there's a little bit of pivot in there, so you can work with it. You know, he's a little fiddly, but you know, he's when 900 years old you are, articulate as well, you will not. Ha 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 ha. But he has a very nice Yoda, you know, smile going on there. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of his accessories. He does come with a swappable head. We'll pop the head off and swap on the other head. This is probably the one I'm going to stick with on the shelf. This one's a little bit more of a hardened expression, a battle expression, and it looks really, really good. It's also a little bit tighter on that ball joint, so, but it's a good look. And then Yoda comes with his cane, which is kind of in like a purpley brown plastic, and it's very rubbery, and there's some very skinny points on it that I don't know that I super like, but it does have the ball at the top, and it fits into his hand rather well. And if you fiddle with his posing, you'll eventually get him in a pose where, you know, he looks good using it, but you know, it is an appropriate length, so that's nice. And then he comes with two versions of his lightsaber. He comes with the lit version of his lightsaber, and it has a very nice lime green plastic to the blade. It's that lime green they've been using on figures for about a year now, and it's just really, really nice because it catches the light. It looks a little bit fluorescent. I don't know how well it's picking it up on camera, but in person it appears to have a glow, and I love that. The hilt is painted in silver with the black accents punched in where appropriate, and then he also features an unlit version of the hilt and similar paint details to be had there. He has no belt storage to carry the unlit hilt, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. I know some people would like to see the Black Series go to this sort of system like TVC does. I'm personally not a fan. While it's not an issue here, I have a lot of TVC figures where you can see the color of the blade through the silver of the paint on the hilt, and I'm just not a fan of that. I do like the removable blade gimmick. However, Yoda's lightsaber is very small, very skinny, and has a narrower blade, so I just don't think that they could have done the removable blade gimmick at this scale. Setting him and his saber aside, He also comes with his Jedi Council chair, which is just excellent. It's in a dark gray plastic. It's an appropriate color. It matches the scenes that we see it in very, very well. And then the red cushion area is glued in, but it's softer. It's a little bit of a rubber. It's got a smidge give to it. It's very cushiony feeling. And that's very nice. He's got a nice padded seat to sit on. And I do like how that has worked out very well. So it's just a nice world-building piece. You know, us collectors are always talking about just wanting accessories beyond just the gun and the lightsaber. You know, sometimes it's nice to get a little something. And when it comes to characters like Yoda especially, you know, Hasbro will gladly take a 2-inch tall figure like Yoda, throw him in the figure box for the lightsaber, and say he's worth $25. And it's just like, is he? And I struggle with that sometimes. Same with the astromechs and stuff. So when you get an astromech that's loaded with all these attachments, I'll take it. Yoda, what can you do? You can give him his lightsaber, his cane. You're kind of up a creek at that point. But prequel Yoda comes with the benefit of sitting in that chair a lot. And it's a really good look, especially when you pose him so he's not just, spread legging it for you, but just do the quick and nasty pose on it. I mean, that's a really good look. It really helps you get the impression that the box has been filled on this. And overall, I am incredibly satisfied with everything we're getting in this box. So here's the pack with many of this year's offerings from Revenge of the Sith. And I gotta say, it does really feel like us prequel fans are eating well. I really don't have anything bad to say about this pack. It looks good next to other figures. I'm struggling to remember exactly when this pack came out. It might have been the very end of 2024 or the very beginning of 2025. Either way, it came out slightly before a bunch of other really, really good Revenge of the Sith figures. This is only an offering of some of the great things we got this year. But yeah, just what a great time to be a Black Series collector. If you grew up during the prequel era, you probably had a really good year. So at the end of the day, what do I think of this 2-pack? Honestly, I love it. I think that this Gree is a very fun, unique variant, and while maybe not for everyone, I accept his place in the universe, and I accept that he probably is the more common appearance of Gree. So I'm happy to put him on the shelf somewhere. And as far as a prequel Yoda, very needed, even if the cloak should have been a little bit of a lighter shade. I'm going to let it slide. Do I think you should go and pay current market value for this set? No. I don't know that the Gree is ultimately going to be that important to everyone's collections, and I don't foresee them keeping this Yoda exclusive to an out-of-print set. I foresee either a restock somewhere down the road, because Hasbro does pay attention. When things become expensive, they know that people want it, so they rerun it. It's not a line that's about, profit in the long run. It's about, getting these in the collector's hands. They don't care if you're trying to put your kids through college on it. And I like that, because I think that these are things that everyone should get a fair shot at. So, I could foresee a reissue or maybe a repack of Yoda in different packaging somewhere along the way. So if you're holding out, I just advise you to continue to. I mean, you've already missed the $45 price on it, so who cares how high it gets on the third-party market at this point, right? So, anyway, hold out, be strong. Yoda is too popular a character to never be sold ever again, so that's my ultimate thoughts on it. But if you can find this set for a deal, if you got a friend like 212 Hunter, thank you again. Shout out Infinite forever on this one. If you're holding out, if you can find a deal, if you know someone that'll give you a deal, I would say take it. It's really fun. I do like this set, and I'm glad to finally have it. Thank you all for hanging out. It means a lot that you did. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that end of video stuff. You know the drill. Check out my video on my Toys for Tots giveaway. That's going to be ending here very soon on the 14th. And that's it. May the Force be with you, and have a good one. Bye.